Welcome to Out on Film.
Thank you so much for having me.
I would say welcome to Atlanta, but you're practically a resident now.
Exactly.
And did you bring some castmates?
Yeah, I did. Thank you guys so much for coming. I have a great group that came to support me, so they're here.
And congratulations on the great season premiere of season 2 of The Gifted on Fox.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the role of Carly and getting the script. When did you decide to sign on to this?
Oh God, it's been years now since we made this film. We actually shot the movie immediately after we shot our pilot in Dallas. And I remember reading the script, and I became friends with Corey and Michael Smith after I did a little arc on Gotham, as well as Michael Chiklis, and I knew that they were attached to the movie. Virginia was attached, and so they basically had their whole cast together. But I remember reading the script and then doing some research about 1980. And I remember recalling that there was so much hysteria in the media. It was mostly around fear, the fear of not understanding this disease, the fear of losing more friends. It was just so much loss, really. And what I loved about the script was that it focused on one person's journey, one person's identity. And again, in the news media, like you kind of lost all of these, there were so many people that we lost, and yet they didn't focus on their identities. And so what I loved about the script was that it took us through the journey of this man's love and loss and journey, and his farewell with his family, and it was just so moving to me that I had to be a part of it. And the role of Carly, growing up in San Francisco, I had Yen Tan, who is the director and the writer. The two characters got along so well because they were kind of outcasts and they only had each other, and I thought that was a really cool role to play, kind of revisiting the romance that they lost before he found his true self in New York.
As you talked about Yang Tan, the director and writer of this, he said that he was inspired by some of the experiences he had when he started his professional career out of college, and we were kind of dealing with the aftermath. People were getting on the cocktail, but many, many lives have been lost. And, I think a lot of people, 20 years ago, we were seeing a lot of these films. What does it mean for you? You were 2 in 1985, correct?
Yes.
What does it mean to revisit that era with a new generation of creatives like yourself who are bringing the spotlight back to this era? As you point out, the mainstream media at that point, they were really not zeroed in on it. Ronald Reagan was ignoring the AIDS epidemic. And so we weren't really at a place where we were having a national conversation about this yet. What's it like as a young creative to go back to that period and recreate that? And what are some of the messages that you want to bring forward?
We're talking about the adversities that they've experienced in 1985. I don't feel like it's as different as what we're experiencing current day. We're talking about, equal rights, for example, that Virginia's character mentioned. These are still topics that we're still fighting for today, unfortunately. And so it was kind of nice to shine the light on issues that were so uncomfortable to talk about in the home with your family, especially family with such a religious, background, who are super religious, Christian. And so these are conversations that are so awkward, and I felt like what was really beautiful was to kind of play, these scenes out and navigate through these really difficult conversations. One of which I've never had in my, a conversation that I wish we had in my family. So it's kind of interesting to play out.
This is a really wonderfully shot film. It's shot on 16 millimeter black and white film, and it's gorgeous. I'm wondering what some of the challenges were as an actor shooting in this format. It's an indie film, you have to shoot quickly. One of the things that really strikes me about this film is how long some of the takes are. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges of that?
I mean, it's a lot of rehearsals, which we don't usually get in TV or film anymore. You know, you have a certain amount of stock in terms of how much footage you have and how much film you have. And so it requires a long conversation. I mean, you know, the scene that we shot on the couch, we needed to rework the whole thing in order for it to work, and we brought it on the day and oh my God, it's a monster scene, what are we gonna do? And we spent, you know, we sent the crew away and we spent 4 hours talking about the scene. And then we finally shot it and it took less than an hour. So it's a lot different than how we work today with you know, with our digital cameras and everything like that.
That's,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. And I guess it's shot in the viaduct. Is that correct? Where the outside scene, where the next to last scene that you have in the finished film. And again, it's like this very long conversation, and the shots are very long. And I'm wondering, you're out in the elements, and you're trying to remember everything. Was that one of the more challenging scenes for you, if you had to tick them off?
Oh gosh, I think, I mean, I connected with Corey immediately, and so I felt like those scenes were quite easy. I think the most uncomfortable scene was when we had to make out and I had to climb on his lap, and you know, it was one of those moments where I need him, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You know, it was, you know, it was one of those. It was like realistically very awkward, and I feel like, you know, it was super crunchy, and so that was one of the most difficult scenes. But also there was a scene in the diner, and you know, everyone, all the extras, all the crew, it was 100 degrees in Dallas when we were filming, and the air conditioning broke in the diner. And so we were sweating, we were just sweating immensely. People were on the verge of passing out, and we kind of trucked through it, and it did, you know, you don't see it on the screen, but we were all dying.
Right.
Yeah, but it was great.
I do not want to monopolize your time. I want to open this up to the audience. You up for some questions?
Yeah, sure.
On film, because it is actually more expensive nowadays.
Yeah, I don't
Why
think,
black and white?
well, I think what, you know, I recall Hutch answering this question, but he wanted it black and white because it kind of played into the era. He wanted it 16 millimeter because he wanted the quality, the grainy quality of the film. He wanted the challenge of lighting 16 millimeter. It was just 16, right?
16 millimeter, yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry, I don't know. But
I'm very old.
okay, see, you know, it was, yeah. I just thought it was just felt appropriate for the time that we were, you know, kind of reacting.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I can't really explain that answer very well.
I'm really touched by, because, you know, going back to, I think one of the first major age-related deaths was Ricky Wilson from the B-52s, for those of us of a certain age, who also died in October of 1985. And I remember reading his obituary in Billboard magazine, and they said he died of complications from lung cancer. And so there was this, whether people were hiding it, people weren't talking about it, people were, you know, kind of camouflaging what was really going on. And so it's really, really poignant for me to see these two characters have this conversation about, will you tell my brother the truth? And I'm wondering what the atmosphere was between you and Corey filming that.
It's, you know, it just, Corey plays such a selfless character, and I think the scene when he chooses to tell, you know, to ask me to tell his brother, it was difficult. You know, it's really heart-wrenching. I mean, one of the scenes that I just saw again tonight with Virginia and Corey in the car before he leaves to the airport, it gets me every time. I mean, the movie is filled with such beautiful, quiet moments, and this day and age, with everything that we have on TV and on Netflix and in the movie theaters, everything's exploding. There's a transformer, there's mutants, there's lots going on. And so what I love about this film is that there's just so many quiet moments that are played out that you usually don't. That uncomfortable moment after one's rejected and gets up to go get a glass of water, or the moment where someone is waiting for a pie outside the grocery store. Like, all of those awkward moments were allowed to be, to play out, and that's the kind of stuff that I find really fun to do.
Do you think his dad was insinuating that he was speaking about him rather than his brother?
I'm so sorry, I can't hear you.
Do you think his dad was insinuating that the older brother was so, and such the little brother was so he wasn't speaking while they were talking about him?
Let me go take the microphone to you.
Do you think that the dad was insinuating that the older brother is the soft one, however, not actually the little brother, because he said he went to take a ride to see him and he thought someone stayed with another guy, but he said he couldn't be.
Yeah. I mean, I think the father always knew that. I think the father always knew, and I don't think that he was insinuating, talking about. I think he was trying to bring up the conversation with him, using his brother, but in a way he was always talking about their relationship and his identity. So it was just I don't know, and I think he plays. Michael Chiklis plays a character that, he's a war veteran, a Vietnam War veteran, and so he has a really hard time having really intimate conversations. And I don't know, I felt like the scene worked,
Yeah. So I'm going to turn comic book geek for just a moment, so I just want to forewarn you. So of course, Corey Michael Smith plays the Riddler on Gotham. You've had an arc on Gotham. You're now on Marvel property on Fox, Gifted. Any rivalry on set between DC and Marvel between you and Corey?
No, not at all. No, when I was on the DC set, it was all about DC, and now that I'm on a Marvel show, it's all about Marvel. No, I didn't have the job at the time when I shot my stuff for Valerie.
That's right. Okay. So without giving away any significant plot points for season 2, what can we? I have to try, folks. Okay. What can say about season 2 of The Gifted?
We all die. The show's done.
You
After
realize
season
it's going to be on YouTube without.
No, I'm just joking. It's really insensitive and inappropriate. I apologize.
We want everyone to have a very long run on this show.
Yeah. I don't know. You get to meet new characters. You see the Morlocks. There's the purifiers that have a huge role in the show, and and unfortunately we do lose some characters, and new ones are added, and yeah.
And life goes on for someone.
I mean, yeah, that's fine.
So your castmate, Stephen Moyer, is going to be the narrator tomorrow night at the Laramie Project, an all-star staging of it at Dad's Garage at 10 o'clock. It's a co-production with Alvin Film.
Yes, and Amy Acker as well.
Oh,
Who's
fantastic.
also, yeah.
That's great. So what's next for 1985? Because the people who come to this festival, we want to know, Wolf is distributing the film. What's next? What can we do to continue to support this great film?
I mean, I think just talking about it and word of mouth really helps. If the movie really spoke to you, then please tell your friends, and support it if it does come out on iTunes or Netflix or wherever it ends up. But thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, we just met earlier.
Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Justice.